play! In my last video, I explained how Hearthstone pros navigate aggro mirror matches by playing for board control. Now that we understand these fundamentals, I'm going to explain how pros win aggro mirrors from their most challenging situation, playing from behind. This is a core skill that separates aggro legends like Hoey and Greensheep from novice gamers. So let's get into it. First, let's discuss what I mean by playing from behind. There are actually two distinct ways to lose the aggro mirror. The first is loss of board, by which I mean that your opponent has managed to clear away most or all of your minions. This means you can't effectively threaten your opponent's life total. The second way you can lose the aggro mirror is more abstract, loss of advantage. By this, I mean that even though you may still have solid board presence, your opponent's deck threatens to overwhelm you in the longer game. For example, you're probably losing the aggro mirror if you have no cards left in hand, while your opponent still has a full hand. We'll talk about how the Hearthstone pros navigate both situations in turn. First, the bad news. If you've lost board, you're in serious trouble. Most aggro decks don't include normal safety valve cards for this situation, cards like Hellfire or Consecration, so winning from this position is gonna be tough, but not impossible. When pros lose the board, their best strategy is often to focus on playing sticky cards that can quickly threaten multiple bodies. Cards like this are pretty rare in Hearthstone, but most aggro decks usually run a few as 2-ofs. Examples of these cards are Serenite Chain Gang, Giggling Inventor, and Despicable Dreadlord. Serenite Chain Gang and Giggling Inventor are powerful because they're multiple minions for the price of one card that an opponent has to attack into. Despicable Dreadlord punishes your opponent for taking value trades by potentially killing multiple minions with low health totals. So do your best to set up plays around these swing cards. For example, try to bait out multiple value trades to leave low health minions for a Dreadlord drop. These lines require big risks, but pros like Hoey know recovering requires taking them, so go for it. Now, let's talk about the loss of advantage scenario. Here, it's much easier to come back. In these situations, pros typically switch up their game plan from controlling the board to lowering their opponent's life total as fast as possible. This way, their opponent never gets the opportunity to capitalize on their long-term advantage. Let's assume both decks traded evenly on the board in the early turns, but the Rogue is starting to run out of cards, while the Warlock is drawing 2 cards every turn thanks to their hero power. It's very unlikely that the Rogue will end up winning in the long run. So what would a pro do in this situation? They'd acknowledge that they're not winning and push to end the game as fast as possible. They'd start going face. The hardest part of winning the loss of advantage scenario is recognizing it. Often, it's not clear-cut who's going to win the game 10 turns from now and who won't. But being able to recognize the loss of advantage scenario is a defining skill of pros like Greensheep. My best advice? Compare cards in hand and board. Assuming you trade 1-for-1 with your opponent, the player with access to the most total cards is winning the longer game, so plan accordingly. Now, you understand how to play from behind in the aggro mirror match, just like the pros do. So what are you waiting for? Fearlessly register that all aggro lineup you've been dreaming of for the next Hearthstone Championship Tour event. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, brought to you by the coaches at GamerSensei, please visit playhearthstone.com/esports for more of the Well Played series and all things Hearthstone esports.